I really shouldn't be making this video, but I will. I've been making a lot of videos lately. Sorry about that. I'll put this on the other channel. Just say no to kids. Pyrrho. Ooh, it's kind of spooky. Anyway, just a horrible video. There's a 12-year-old girl who's made a video. Maybe I'll respond to that in this video too. She was more sensible than this nonsense. And I only watched 2 minutes of it.
Hi, so this is a video. It's a long time since I've done a video here. But this is a video reply to Derived Energy's video to Be Serious. And she's telling him about the tremendous amount of logical fallacies in his thinking. He says, well, I don't see it, it's just logical induction. Well, first of all, there's a whole bunch of argument that you can't decide for other people.
Okay, so these aren't going. He's not going to point out any fallacies in the basic logic of the argument. He's just going to sit there and play games with words now in a preposterous manner. I mean, her argument was that there were glaring fallacies that premise the argument of antinatalism. Now just point out, recite the fallacy and then point it out.
You can't decide for other people's bodies. It is objectively better to get exercise. Therefore, I can tell other people when to exercise. It doesn't work like that.
Yes, it does. It's objectively better not to harm other people, so it's objectively wrong to rape. I mean, this is just an idiotic, inane, insensible, nonsensical, fucktarded, insane argument. If I had a personal fetish for, eating human livers, I don't have the right to take somebody else's liver and eat it.
A huge body of work about individual rights that involve your ability to...
Oh, a huge body of work that you're not going to point to. Individual rights. So now you're going to talk about some sort of ethics that are based on what? Some sort of culture. And those are the ones that are based on all these fallacies you're talking about. Okay, those are the ones we can really find the fallacies in, because they're all founded in some sort of Geo-Christian or Muslim mumbo-jumbo.
Control what you do with your own body. As the old...
well, that's right there. You're in such big trouble, okay? Because the whole point is about procreation, which by its very fundamental nature is the creation of a new body. It can't be sensibly by any rational intelligence argued that procreation is not creating a new body brain mechanism. That's exactly what it is. That's the definition in the dictionary of it. Creating a new person. That's what it does. You silly, fucking, manipulative, creepy fucker.
Ultimate arbiter. And you're saying, no, you're more ultimate than that ultimate. Well, no. You're not familiar with the idea that people should make decisions for themselves?
Oh, again, yeah, they should make decisions for themselves about activities that impact themselves. That's right, they should have self-determination. They should decide what happens to them. When they decide what happens to some third party, the body-brain entity that is not them, then we're allowed to observe the behavior and judge it rationally, by a biological equation, cost-benefit analysis. It is one of the primary functions of logic, is to involve itself in cost-benefit analysis. It's what makes logic valuable, is the fact that it can allow us to do cost-to-benefit analysis.
You don't know about that? You think that we're still in the world where we've proven that one person can deduce the proper thing and then impose that? You don't know.
Look, I don't even know how you can even use the word impose, where you've already had it thrown at yourself. There's no way to look at your little biological experiment. The biological experiment of procreation is anything else but an imposition of risk, okay, on a new body-brain entity.
The arguments against that, you're not even familiar with them. Well, there's a few, and you're also not evidently aware.
Yeah, you're also not evidently aware that if you're going to argue with somebody, that maybe you ought to quote something they've said, and maybe you ought to actually, again, if you're going to point out and say there's glaring fallacy in their argumentation, then yeah, you ought to quote it and then demonstrate how it's fallacy. This is not doing that. This is bullshit.
Of the problems with objective classification. See, you think that boundaries, you just assume that classical boundaries with sharp edges, like life either is or isn't worth living. We can decide.
Yeah, well, you can do your little mocky voice, but the fact is that we do that all the time. So you're saying we shouldn't argue about whether it is cost to benefit analysis, whether it is cost effective to invest in nuclear power as an energy source. We shouldn't have that conversation. We know exactly that it's got to be a good thing because somebody did it in the past, so we've got to keep doing it in the future. No. The fact of the matter is that the ownership of our cultures and civilizations by religion has denied us the opportunity to have this conversation when we should have had it thousands of years ago in any real way. And where they did have it, they were kind of futile. They couldn't do much with the conversation. The conclusion was that yes, life is suffering, it's stupid, it's kind of idiotic, but oh hell, what are we going to do about it?
One or other, that's not how categories work.
Says you.
Categories work by radio principles. So, at the most, you could decide your life isn't worth living.
Oh, I'm afraid not. That's not the subject here, okay? We're arguing about whether people should be allowed to essentially conduct Frankenstein experiments. They are essentially waking the non-existent and forcing them, dragging them into existence. And the question is this a reliable enough experiment? If Dr. Frankenstein was a real person and he was alive today and he was making Frankensteins and he had improved his Frankenstein making process, so now let's say, 5 out of 6 Frankensteins turned out happy, pappy, good citizens, chasing their little pink balloons, paying their taxes, cleaning their fingernails, did all the right things. But 1 out of 6 was still fucked up, really fucked up, really not happy, and went on little tantrums, made all kinds of a mess. Would we say, go ahead, Frankie, do your experiments? I don't think so, Pyrrho. I really don't think so.
You cannot decide that for someone else. Your idea that things fit into categories is leading you to all.
Look, Pyrrho, it is quite obvious that somebody else decided for me regarding my existence. I did not decide to be here. That is a fact. Okay, I signed no contract. Somebody else made the decision. I'm not only allowed to say people shouldn't be allowed to make those decisions because I know the impact of it, clearly. And I feel put upon. I feel abused. Quite literally abused. I mean, even if I give my parents some, write-off for being ignorant and being in a weird time in civilization where, people just did what everybody else did and they were just copycats, there was still enough capacity to open their eyes and say, well, what the hell's going on here? To be a little bit concerned that we really didn't have a functional society and that the world was way too sloppy.
Sorts of
confusion.
Like you seek to classify the new life as just either it is its own self or it isn't. But we all know that when it's
we all know it's a brain and a body, okay? The only question is when is the brain turned on? And so you can pretend that question allows you to create it, dump it into the world, and say, I didn't make a real person because it wasn't able to give me the finger the minute it popped out of the vagina. Yet it took it 30 years to give me the finger, so therefore it's okay. That's just bullshit. Making your excuse that it first has to be programmed and first has to figure out that, well, yeah, I find this quite unsatisfactory. No, your obligation was to do the thing right from the beginning. It's your experiment. You're responsible for its welfare, and anybody who is allowed to make those choices to do these experiments, that's the question. You're saying you have the authority. You have some qualification, some ability to play God, to create life, and to be confident enough to say it's not going to make a mess in the world, number one. that if everybody is allowed to do it, then we know what's going to happen. There's going to be 7 billion people on planet Earth. So you're just playing. This is just bullshit. There's no fallacy in finding objection to this kind of recklessness. This is recklessness with other people's welfare, plain and simple. Recklessness. There's nothing else here. I wouldn't even say maliciousness, because you don't give a fuck about the downside risk.
It's arguably a part of the mother's body. It's also arguably something independent.
Well, I would say that only an asshole would argue that kind of crap. It's inside the mother's body. That gives her some rights in terms of terminating it, because it doesn't have a functioning brain yet. But if it had a functioning brain, she'd be in big fucking trouble, because there would be a contest of rights.
And through the fact that its potential is to become independent. There isn't a clear either or. Both of those interpretations are valid and bear...
No, neither one of them are, because both of them are too simplistic. But that's what you want to reduce everything to, some sort of simplicity that is so so broken that all description is lost, because you destroy the meaning of words.
Relevancy to different issues. And you seek to just think that there's one absolute answer and you can derive from it, you know. And you guys pat yourself on the back an awful lot. I mean, it's funny because Metamorph in that video is patting himself on the back about how we give up and we just say eventually we don't want to talk about it. Well, you know, they're the ones that have me blocked. Antinatalists are the ones that have me blocked right now.
Oh, yeah, well, again, you're going to do this pussy stuff with your damn blocking bullshit. Blocking doesn't stop you from making videos, cunt. Okay, Derived Energy made a 28-minute video to Be Serious, something like that. Another 15-minute video to Be Serious. Her video is maybe 2-3 minutes, and it's just some. I don't like it. I don't want to hear this. Your videos are 2, 3, 4 minutes, and it's just basically the most retarded kindergarten cartoon descriptions of biology and reality. Yeah, so fuck that nonsense. You're blocked because you're a motherfucking cunt asshole. You don't argue like you argue with no integrity. You say the same crap over and over and over and over and over, and you do it in a method that is preposterously annoying. You can't even, you'll make 7 comments, 7 one-sentence comments on a video. You're an idiot, an asshole, a fucking nuisance, and a troll.
So I'm having a feeling that they're not too into the let's still talk about it thing.
Oh, no, they're not too into having some asshole say, but the Pyrrhomecium goes to get food and trees get thirsty. Yeah, they don't want to waste the rest of their fucking life arguing with an asshole who keeps arguing pseudoscience.
Yeah.
Look at you. You just, you know, and that isn't that a joke? You just did a superiority dance. And complaining about superiority dances, you know, but the bottom line is, yeah, let's measure you by your comments. Let's measure you by your rhetoric. And so in this video, you said preposterously stupid things that if a grammar school said it in a science classroom, the teacher would just smack him in the head and say, "What the fuck do you think I'm here for? You dumb asshole. You don't know that procreation is creating a new brain and body organism? Get back to the fucking kindergarten. Go fucking eat your own poo, you stupid shit."
Ultimately, I mean, I think the bigger thing, I mean, that's the huge logical problem, but I think the bigger thing is they just don't...
Well, what's the huge logical problem? That you're blocked because you're a fucking obnoxious, rude asshole? Oh, yeah, that's the problem.
realize that this idea that life is a risk, therefore there's no reason to take it, is based on an idea that risks are not worth taking. Any risk.
Yeah, again, the argument has been made to you over and over and over and over again. Risks are worth taking. Analogies have been provided of somebody driving a fire truck to a fire and doing it at a high speed and taking the risk of a failure and a catastrophic accident. And the risk is justified because the mission is a rescue. Some greater good is to be accomplished than the risk being signed on. Okay, we are asking you, what is the greater good of rubber stamping reproduction for the sake of reproduction? What is the human purpose, mission, service? What other rescue mission are we on? What need are we satisfying besides your own selfish desire? Explain that, please.
Is not worth taking. What's to argue about that? It's obviously axiomatic. You should never take a risk.
Well, now you want to, a straw man like that should get you put in kindergarten too. I mean, you don't see how that would make you an obnoxious motherfucker to people. When you build a straw man that obvious, I mean, you didn't even put clothes on it. It's just fucking straw. It's a pile of straw. It's not even a straw man. It's just a blob. It's a straw blob. And you're sitting there arguing with a straw blob, and you're going to call it me? You motherfucker. You have to do a little better than that. Okay? Nobody has made the argument that anything that entails any risk is of no value. But we are arguing that when something has no intrinsic value, when it accomplishes no purpose, all right, that it's going to have a hard time justifying any liabilities. Again, you wouldn't build a single nuclear power plant if it didn't create something needed, which is energy. What service does the human race provide in the universe? What service, what function is accomplished by its presence that justifies any of the liability?
That's not how life works. That's not how everybody's living. That's not obvious.
Well, that's not popular. That's not what George Bush told me to believe. Right, so I'll ridicule you. I'll mock you and ridicule you in the same kind of silly, superficial manner. Right? That's no. Ronald Reagan told me differently.
It's about as true as you should always take a risk. See, again, this comes down to the
straw blob.
Individual decision making.
Straw blob.
When to take a risk or not. Individual decision.
Again, you can't keep saying individual decision making. That's like me saying that people have an individual right to make a decision about whether rape should be part of their exercise routine. I mean, it's a nonsensical argument. The third party is a reality. It is not a potential reality. It's a fucking reality. If all goes well, it will fucking goddamn exist, and you will be responsible for that existence.
You just don't get that individuals get to make individual decisions, so
right.
That's pretty big.
Individual decisions that don't impact other people. I mean, as soon as they impact other body-brain mechanisms, they're going to have to justify it, especially if the act involves risk and imposition. It's not that complicated, really. This is not that complicated. Stay on the subject, please.
Blatant fallacy. In fact, it's the one behind all of this meddling and getting in other people's business that is making this world so shitty that...
Oh, yeah, that's just so... Again, so now it's guilt by some sort of bizarre association. It is antinatalists who are against the corporations. They're against the industrial farming. They're against all these harms and exploitations that take place because they're against suffering. Okay, that's their motivation, loser. So that's just a bogus argument to try to tie them to this exploitation class that you're a fucking part of. You're the one defending the exploiters, fucker.
Is the closest you'll get to justifying your position. In other words, you're making the world shitty. Now, I think...
Oh, whatever. Now, you got no evidence of that whatsoever. Just absolutely none. Find what's one of derived energy's crimes. What's my crime? What's Morph's crimes? What are our crimes against humanity? Morph might say his only crime was the recklessness of having kids. You stupid fuck. That might be the number one on his list of regrettable deeds in his life. You stupid shit. So that argument goes absolutely nowhere unless you want to back it up with something, you little fucking weasel. I mean, it really is weasel rhetoric. I mean, you're saying there's glaring fallacies and all you're doing is character assassinating. Fuck you.
The main thing to be taken seriously is you guys would have to deal with William P. Brain's argument that thinking that life is unfairly imposed actually increases suffering, because it is known neurologically to have that attitude.
Well, yeah, so it doesn't matter whether it's the truth or not, right? So if the truth causes you some cognitive dissonance, yeah, oh no, we can't have that. No. I mean, that is just, isn't that so bogus? Are you saying Morph's lying? He believes this not to be the truth and he's just doing it to hurt people? Is your argument derived energy doesn't know this to be the truth? He believes it to be complete garbage and shit that he's trying to sell people just to hurt them? Are you going to tell me that my only objective is to hurt people? I don't really believe it's the truth, and if it's the truth, I'm going to do honor to it. Fuck you again.
Dude, increases the actual subjective intensity of pain. So
oh, whatever. So now we're back to some sort of argument that, yeah, why don't we just inject people forcibly? Why don't you take your pharmaceutical industry that's now running most of the world anyway, and just make people placid, make them accept, make them compliant to the drone world, the Borg that you wish them to be part of. So they will chase your fucking silly balloons and think they're accomplishing something. So what if it's a fucking lie? Fuck you. Skeptic my ass.
why don't you deal with that? Why don't you deal with why you're justified to have an opinion that increases your own pain? If pain is an objective negative, then...
Again, you're just trivializing the concept of pain and suffering. And again, this is a philosophical argument. The boundaries aren't what, you don't go into a debating class or a debate with on any subject ever in the history of mankind. No credible articulator of a position, Lincoln or nobody, has ever gone into a debate saying, well, if you argue for what you're arguing for, it's going to make you feel bad. I mean, that is just such a fucking cunt move. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't want to insult cunt. That's a badger cunt move.
That shouldn't be the case, right? There should be no justification to doing something that increases your own or other people's suffering in this.
Again, another straw blob. Nobody's ever said anything similar to that. Okay, ever. So again, this is just you just take an idea and you take it to some preposterous extreme. So if you're against rape, you're against all relationships between men and women. Come on. This is just nonsense.
Attitude does. If you convince people of this attitude, the suffering they're currently feeling will become more intense, which according to you guys is more objective.
Well, that's not true anyway. I don't think you can prove that or demonstrate that. If I could prevent people from conducting activity that they will in the future regret, I'm doing them a huge favor, okay? There's certainly a percentage of child producers who would have been better off if they never had the kids, especially the ones who got strangled. I mean, just literally, I saw it happen. I mean, the marriage failed, just the cliche. They had the retarded child, had a miserable life, their other two kids were fucking miserable. The marriage fails, the whole thing ends terribly tragically. Nobody won. Everybody lost. You're an idiot. You're a fucking idiot.
Actively wrong. But you don't see any argument that you have to answer, huh?
Well, again, what argument do you want me to answer? Why should I defend a position that has nothing to do with anything I'm advocating? I've never heard an anti-natalist say any of this nonsense. All right, we're against procreation. Stay on the fucking subject. All right, this is just such bullshit.
So, yeah, I think there's a few things for you to address that you guys just ignore and go on about. We haven't even gotten into this fact that you all are bound, and it's surprising because many of you have actually come out on this side of the position, Gary and etc., that the pain that someone feels because they've done something wrong that backfires, that's doesn't matter. Yet Gary says, well, the value of the pain in the Nazis that he might reflect, but you don't have to reflect. It's objectively wrong as soon as you feel the pain. You don't have to think about why. Oh, yeah, you do. Is that the thing? You guys don't want to think about why you had pain. Maybe you're responsible for more of it than you like to admit. Yeah, more of your own pain. I think so.
Did you understand any of that? Because I sure as fuck didn't. But yeah, it's more this laughable bullshit. Like, oh yeah, we're not smart enough to lie to ourselves, invent unicorns, and chase them. Yeah, of course we are, Pyro. We just have what's called integrity, something you don't have any of. No integrity at all. No intellectual integrity. No honor code whatsoever. You're a self-serving, self-interested piece of shit. Okay, you have no character. But I'll play that last bit again because that was just so fucking bizarre.
Will become more intense, which according to you guys is more objectively wrong. But you don't see any argument that you have to answer, huh?
Oh, yeah, I want to get to the arguments. Yeah, no, he's not making an argument, Pyro. You're not making a fucking argument. At least not one that's coherent to rational brains.
And go on about it. We haven't even gotten into this fact that you all are bound, and it's surprising because many of you have actually come out on this side of the position, Gary, and etc., that the pain that someone feels because they've done something wrong that backfires,
that they've done something wrong that backfires. I mean, I understand guilt, but I don't understand the pain that they feel for doing something wrong that backfires. I don't know what that means.
That doesn't matter. Yet Gary says, well, the value of the pain in the Nazis that he might reflect, but you don't have to reflect. You know it's objectively wrong as soon as you feel the pain. You don't have to...
Yeah, I don't know, doing the funny voice thing really doesn't work for me, but it's okay. Yeah, you don't have to reflect on pain. Okay, there's two things you can do. I mean, you can have a misery. You can feel miserable. All right, you don't need to really reflect on it. You have the sensation of it. It's right there in front of you. It's right in your nostrils, like an obnoxious smell even. You don't have to think about it. It's an obnoxious smell. It's obnoxious to your senses. It makes you want to puke. Okay? Reflecting on it's not going to do much for that fucking obnoxious smell. You're not going to just intellectually make the obnoxious smell go away. So it's irrelevant. The two things are distinct. And I think when you're talking about the Nazi thing, you were talking about the fact that if a Nazi kicks a Jew, that somehow the pain is good. And my only argument was it's only going to be good if the Nazi's future behavior changes. If his behavior remains the same, then in practical fact the pain is of no value whatsoever. Because it will not change the future. It will not make the future any brighter for anything. So his pain will be like torturing a mass murderer. What would you accomplish? Absolutely nothing. Nothing, unless you thought it would scare other mass murderers. And without any kind of deterrent effect, it would be just pointless extra pain for which there is no redeeming value. I mean, you can't figure that out? Well, of course you can't figure it out because you're too fucked up, too chasing your own little demons. Alright, so enough of this. Sorry, this was really long, so yeah, I'm in big trouble here. Long videos, a lot of videos. So I won't bother with the little girl. But, yeah, well, I don't know. I really want to, but I'll just get yelled at for picking on a little girl. So it's probably better I don't. But yeah, there's this silly girl called The Not So Angry Atheist. And she titled her video The Purpose of Life. And she was like she was having a grand epiphany because she figured the purpose of life is to reproduce. I mean, basic biology. You know, that's the purpose of a DNA molecule, is to make you utter those words. That's what the DNA wants you to say. Okay, just like the religious nuts want you to recite their little bibble babble. The DNA has built into it a little bit of a mechanism, you know, that encourages that kind of vocalization. But the truth is, yeah, you're not really getting what the purpose thing is here. Purpose is something like an intelligent purpose, you know, one that can be understood by an intelligence. Okay, an intelligence you can't just say reproduction for the sake of reproduction. Now, an intelligence can't make anything out of that because that doesn't make any sense. You don't do anything for the sake of the same thing you're doing. Okay, you have to actually accomplish something beyond doing what you're doing. Waving hand for the sake of waving hand cannot possibly be argued to be a purpose. Okay, you have to accomplish something by waving the hand for it to have a purpose. But you really shouldn't put atheist in your name, you know, if you're going to just be kind of, you know, simple-minded. She's really simple-minded. The pretty color, baby, I want to pet baby. Yeah, baby. But yeah, I mean, it's just so depressing. So so fucking depressing.